Welcome everyone to the video. It's Jira Pro, and in today's video I'm gonna be talking about the Scrum. So you already know, since you've been working with Jira, that when you create a project, Jira asks you, do you want that project to have a Kanban board, or you want that project to have a Scrum board? Actually, what is Scrum? So the Scrum is an agile framework for managing projects, and commonly is being used in the software development. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot use your Scrum board for different types of projects, but then again, the focus is going to be on Jira software. Okay, so first of all, what is important that Scrum provides a structured yet flexible approach to the product development. What actually this means? So this means that within a Scrum you have something that is called sprints. Sprints is usually, let's say, a period of time that your team needs to complete some certain number of tasks that were inside of the sprint backlog. Now the question is what sprint backlog is. The logical answer from that would be all of the issues that were determined within sprint planning process that are actually going and that will be done within a sprint. Now, within Jira, what is important to say is when you create your Scrum project and when you create an issue, Jira will automatically tell you that that issue might have been created, but it's hidden because it goes straight to your backlog, because in order to see that issue on your board, you need to start a sprint. Now, usually a sprint shouldn't be longer than 2 weeks. Those are the rules set by the Scrum organization. And everything above 2 weeks, right, would actually can cause a problem. Now, the first thing that I want to say about the Scrum is there are 4 ceremonies in Scrum. So the first ceremony of the Scrum is going to be like a sprint planning. Then you have daily stand-ups. Then you have sprint reviews. Then you have sprint retrospectives. I'm not gonna go too deep into that because that is more of the agile approach. And yes, Jira is being used for the agile project management, but you know there is a specific role called for people who actually work within the Scrum, and they actually practice and preach the Scrum framework, and those are the Scrum Masters. Also, you have the Certified Scrum Master certification, so that is a whole different topic. All right, so what I wanted to mention here, when you go ahead and create a issue in here, right? So now what happens, changes are saved but the issue isn't visible, and this is not visible. So I want to add this to the sprint, and as you can see, when it says it's being added to the sprint, it's right here. But you want to be careful about this. And why is this? Because you don't want to create something that is called scope creep. That is basically ruining everything that you actually plan to do within a certain sprint, and you're adding more and more issues and stuff like that. So you want to be careful about that. Another thing that Scrum framework actually uses in here are the methods is the method of estimation, and that method of estimation usually in Scrum is called the story points. Now, to make the things more simpler, the less story points your feature has, or your story task has, your story has, because user stories and tasks are two different things. Less the story points, the better. Because if you have like one user story that has story points of 10, you might think about that. You might want to think about that story and see what is going on in here. Right. So, and also in Scrum you have something that are called the artifacts. Now, those artifacts include the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment. I already talked about the product backlog, the sprint backlog. You have the product backlog, which is actually when you go here, and you have it in here. So this right here is a product backlog. And this right here, well, it's already a sprint, but this also can be called a sprint backlog. Why is this? Because if I move this here, sprint scope will be affected. So when you move something, Jira will say to you, you know what, this is actually creating a scope creep. Are you sure that you want to do this? And then you say yes or no. Right, so those are the artifacts. All right, I already said about the ceremonies. There is a big dilemma in there saying that even the backlog grooming is another retrospective, but usually it's another Scrum ceremony, but usually there are 4 ceremonies. This is going to be a 5th one. Now, personally, myself, I didn't have this 5th ceremony, which is the backlog grooming. These 4 were enough. All right, what else can we actually talk about here? So, when it comes to the retrospective, and when it comes to the demos, where actually your Scrum team is presenting the feature to your client, and your client gives you the feedback, which is really important because so the team knows what to work on. And that could automatically go to the sprint retrospective, because within the sprint retrospective, we're talking about the 4 things. What went well, what didn't actually go well, are there actually any suggestions, and are there any questions? And usually within a retrospective, the action items are being put, so those action items can be reviewed, and on the next retrospective the team can go through those action items that were done in the previous retrospective and see if those action items were completed and why they were not completed. All right, so overall, to summarize, the Scrum framework fosters collaboration, adaptability, and a focus on delivering high-quality products in a timely manner. That's why you have sprints. In Kanban, it's kind of a different, because you always have that let's say continuous delivery, if I can say it like that, because there is no like limitation unless you put a due date for each of the features. But within a Scrum, you say, okay, this sprint is going to last 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It shouldn't be longer than 2 weeks, and you have that time box that you want to use in order to complete all of those issues.